Welcome to AwareWolf for You. My name is Jacqui Mancuso.
And I'm Victoria.
And today we're back. It's been quite a while since we've talked about podcasts, since we've done a podcast, since we've released a podcast.
Yes. Well, our release schedule and our filming schedule is quite different.
Way different.
But we're also back with a video.
Woo!
We'll see how this works.
We haven't been so strict on the podcast releasing because we were preparing for the Oneness Festival.
Yes, that was pretty awesome. It just happened this past weekend. We're still both recuperating from it. Not that, we're, hungover and we need to get back to feeling normal, but I think it's more just...
I'm, spiritually hungover.
Yeah, energy depletion. Not in a bad way, though. Yeah, I feel good. I just, need a minute to get back into my, normal, hustle, bustle, whatever.
We got back on Sunday at, 7? And I think I fell asleep that night before 8 o'clock.
Mm.
And then on Monday, I took a nap Monday afternoon.
Yeah. I fell asleep pretty early on Sunday, too. I don't know about 8 o'clock.
My gosh, even yesterday, even Tuesday night, I fell asleep on the couch at 7:15. And then I woke up and watched a movie, but it was, yeah.
Sunday, Mark ended up watching Extraction 2, which is a very intense action movie.
Uh-huh.
And I think I fell asleep in the first 10 minutes with it on, and he kept watching it. And I was sleeping while there was shooting and I ended up, he's like, you have to watch it. It's the best action movie I've ever seen. I was like, okay. I don't care much about action movies. And then I watched it yesterday for him, and I was like,
oh, okay.
It was great, honey. I'm glad you liked it.
Talk about a dimension shift going from drum circles and I don't know, woo-woo stuff to
Yeah, I was like, this is great. I'm so happy for you. He's like, don't you remember the prison scene? I'm like, yeah. That's
a movie. Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
But
that's cute.
Yeah, yesterday I was also after work, like I said, I haven't been going to the gym, so I feel like that too usually gives me extra energy throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely noticed, if I go to the gym in the morning, I'm motivated, have more energy throughout the day. I can do everything I need to do. And then these past 2 days, I haven't been going, and so I've just been in this calm, chill world. And then I did breathwork last night. Almost passed out doing breathwork. Not passed out, but fell asleep.
Yeah. Okay.
Not from not having enough air. Yeah, no.
From being so relaxed.
From just relaxing and just being well. But then I had to wait for him to get home, and then it was a revamp.
I do meditations every morning. I feed the dogs and then I go back in bed and I put one on. I don't know what the hell Paul's doing, but I meditate. And the last 2 mornings I've fallen back asleep during that, which is not normal for me.
Yeah.
And actually last night, this I don't know why I want to talk about this. I have these dreams sometimes where I'm getting teachings, wise teachings, and it's not for this reality. It's for a different reality. But I was having a dream last night that Pluto has so much power, but don't let it have so much power. That's all I can put into human words. It meant so much more than that, but it was so strange. And that's it. I just wanted that to be recorded.
Had you watched the short clip of you talking about Pluto from your workshop?
No.
Have you watched those at all?
I skimmed through the full video.
Yeah, apologies on the lens thing.
I get it. It's fine.
So annoying.
It was our first time. And that was a very, I would like to be more professional and noted out and structured to have a professional video, but that was great for exactly what it was. It seemed like a spiritual Woodstock, let's see what we can do during this whole thing.
Yeah.
That's what the whole video seemed like. And that was the exact vibe of this whole festival.
Yeah. And I think that's like, as much as you try to have everything structured, I think like that's your vibe too. Like when you're talking, you're very relatable, you know what I mean? And like you talk from like from yourself instead of like, I'm this high and mighty astrology lady, let me like point by point explain to you, you know what I mean? Like it's relatable, like you speak from the heart, so it doesn't seem like it needs to be.
I guess I just like structuring so that I stay focused on what I'm talking about and I don't go off on these like
Did you feel like you went off on tangents?
Well, so like in the moment I felt like I was way out there, but then when I listened to it I was like, oh, that makes sense. I just kind of like went a little bit and then a little bit, so
yeah.
Who knows? That's
always interesting to kind of look back. Like you experienced it one way doing it and then you see it and you're like, what was that? Well, that's cool. So that was one of the things that we did on the weekend was run a workshop. But I think before we get to Sunday...
Yeah, let's just talk about the whole thing.
Let's start with Friday.
Yeah.
Friday was fun.
Well, do you want to talk about like what this was? I guess.
Yeah. So a few months ago, we went to a holistic health fair. And on the way home, like once I got home... one of the people in my meetup group, the 5D Energy Hike meetup group that has just been growing, which is cool, and it's kind of becoming its own thing at this point.
If you want to join, the link is in the show notes.
There you go. One of the members from our group that has wanted to come to past events, but she lives a bit more south than we do, so it's a bit harder for her to get to us, messaged me about this event, and it was called the Awake Oneness Fest. So it's put on by the Awake Oneness tribe. It was the first year they're doing it, and we've kind of coined the term like spiritual Woodstock. We didn't come up with this, someone else did. But...
I think it came out of my mouth. I don't know if someone else said it.
Oh, really?
But when I had the Zoom call with Jay, I told him, I was like, this just feels like a spiritual Woodstock. So I don't know if someone else said it first.
Here is the lady. She did it.
Copyright.
Trademark. Jacqui Mancuso. But yeah, so it definitely felt that way though.
Yeah.
Kind of like
anything goes. No one knew what the plan was in the best way. Yeah. And that is like, okay, so we'll get to the workshop that I taught, but like that feels like the energy that's coming. Like so much is changing in astrology, and you get to choose, like, do you freak out about it, or are you like, what's happening? What do we get to make? But also,
like, I feel like even beyond that, like, we get to choose how things are gonna look.
Yeah.
Like,
just like we got to change our setup 3 times. We get to choose how things are gonna look.
Which, yeah.
So we went into this pretty blind. Like, we went into this festival having a small idea of, like, okay, we're going to have a booth for 2 days, we're going to camp, and there's some stuff going on at night.
Yeah.
That was all we knew.
But no one really knew, like, what... I guess that's one of the critiques that I have towards the festival. Like, no one knew what the festival was going to be, you know? Like, there was the vendors and the vendor expo. Then there was the camping and the camping area. And then there was, like, some evening entertainment. But that evening entertainment was also the festival. But there was also other things that were the festival. That was, like, the most expensive part of the festival. It was very confusing. And everything was laid out a bit, like...
spread out.
Far.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that was unnecessary. They could have condensed and made it more, like, in that, main area.
I feel like... Oh, I found out
that... And that would have been, like, hang out at the festival here in this big... field.
All 4 of those, like the directional tents, those were all in that field where I did my workshop. We were in east, and then, you know, people were doing the yoga across from us. That was, like, south or whatever, and then the other 2 were on the other side.
Sure.
So that whole soccer field area was the festival.
Right.
I figured that out after we left.
Yeah. No. I get that now, but, like, you would have never seen that.
Right. I think they spread it out so much because it was their first time, and they're like, what if 1 million people show up? You know? Yeah. I would rather, if it were me planning it, I'd rather have enough space instead of, like, everyone crammed.
Or, like, more signage. Main festival area this way.
Learning.
Or, like, you know, I think they had, like, a sign for, like, the red tent, like, other signs for the other tents. Just, like, a bit more signage and direction. Like, what is this?
Sure.
We just walked up on this. Are we meant to be here, or is this just, like, left over from something else, you know? Like, that's kind of... So, yeah. But, it was still fun.
Started Friday night. We got there about an hour before, or an hour after it opened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And by that point, we set up our camp. Jacqui and I realized that we...
Oh my gosh.
Got it down.
Machine.
Got it down. We work very well together, which is nice. And at first we were like, oh, it's just us. It's so lonely. And I'm just like...
We weren't.
I'm just like, no. You wait. Like, we're going to be
that's
praying
right. I
for
said
this
that.
time. Yeah. We're going to be like, damn, I wish we had our free time. Or our alone time or whatever. So like within a few hours, like an hour after we set up camp and took a little gander around the festival, one of our friends drives up right up to our campsite. And we
without knowing
knew
it was us.
We knew it was gonna be him too. We were like, JD's gonna show up.
Yep.
But it actually worked out really well. I feel like he brought like
Big Brother
home.
energy.
Yeah, like home to the whole festival, and made it seem like we had a group too, like a home base. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and he brought those chairs, which I love. They're like stargazing chairs, and they go all the way back, and you're just like, ugh.
Cue the video of Jacqui trying to figure out.
Yeah, those were nice.
So on Friday night, it was just you, me, and him, right?
Just me, you, and him, and we went and saw the evening entertainment, which was some music. For some reason, they kept playing, like, the lullaby music before the upbeat music, which I don't understand. But that's just maybe a me thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was like you like calm down and this like serene like la 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 la, and then you're like, and then they're like, oh, now we have all the fun entertainment. Like, there you go. Go drum on the drum circle.
We found that fallen tree to hang out on Friday night. That was like our spot.
That was cool.
We
heard a few trees falling throughout the weekend, like big branches, like not little guys.
People thought it was fireworks.
Oh, we saw Starlink, which we thought was aliens at first. Because I don't know if you've ever seen the Starlink passing by, but it's like 15 satellites moving in the same like orbit together. So it looks like a fleet of UFO. It's like...
They're in the same orbit as the planets follow also. It was just an observation that I noticed.
And we saw all of it. Like, very clearly. Everyone was like, what the...
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's right. So we saw Starlink, and then, are we saying names? Like, am I naming people, or are we going to give them pseudonyms for privacy? Let's give some pseudonyms. So the friend that showed up, BJ.
We're not calling him BJ. We're just going to say his name. No, his name is already an acronym.
Okay. But other people I want to give pseudonyms.
That's fine. We can just go first letter. So he'll be JD, and then we could do J.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Not BJ.
so
what
JD... so we saw Starlink, and then JD was like, oh, like, you can call in aliens. You can, like, call them in and, like, ask them to protect you and all that stuff. So I think I know...
Call them in for a BJ.
I called them in. I'm sure he did. I don't know if you did anything at that point. But then shortly thereafter, what was it, a mother and a daughter that came and sat next to him?
Yeah.
On the tree trunk?
And they were strange.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And they were, was it the Asian girl?
No.
Because I talked to her.
She was cool.
On Sunday morning.
She was very confident for a little tiny girl.
Yes. Anyway, so we called in aliens.
She was one of the dancers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
She was dancing that first night.
Didn't realize.
Yeah, I didn't either till the drum circle. But anyways.
Oh, dancers, like the girls that were... let's talk about that. So they had, like, I don't know what kind of dance music it was. It was, like, woo-woo dance music. Ecstatic dance type. I don't remember the music from Friday night.
Yeah, it was like a live band, and they were good. And
there were...
That's about it.
There were a lot of, like... young girls who reminded me of my future daughters, and they just had these like scarves and skirts, and they were dancing around, and it was just beautiful to watch because it was dark outside and the lights were from the stage, and then these like girls were just free and flowing and dancing, and I thought it was just so much fun to watch.
Looked like paid actors, but they weren't. They were just kids having fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it looked very much part of the show. Like, it fit in very well with what was happening on stage.
And then we got wind that the drum circle was starting. And we know how Jacqui goes with drum circles.
Ready? And we got glow-in-the-dark, or not glow-in-the-dark, blacklight.
Blacklight face paint.
And at first, Jacqui was like, I don't want to do that. I want to wash that off later.
I didn't want to wash my face because I didn't have my whole setup. I didn't have my oil. I was just going to do dirt all weekend. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, but then we all just got real into it, and people were coming up to me thinking I was one of the painters. I'm like, I just picked it up. I don't know. But yeah, that was fun, and it made for some cool photos too. I feel like I've never had a photo like that, you know, like covered in.
Let's show them.
Black light.
Here's
paint.
the photos. Wow. That wouldn't have started without JD. He was the one right away. He's like, I'm going to get some of that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I put pink on his face, and I was like, yep. He's like, that's fine.
And then he started doing his hands. And then there was that little boy who had, like...
covered.
The alien glyphs all over his shirt.
Yeah.
This little boy was just taking black light paint and just, like, drawing on his shirt. And then eventually I looked at him and I was like, you wrote light language on your shirt.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I wish I would have gotten a picture of that.
Yeah, he was covered. I think I have him in a video. I don't know if you can see the whole light language, but I think he's in there.
Very interesting. I want to tell my perspective of the drum circle because this was like a really big aha moment for me the whole weekend. So, backstory, Viky and I had a drum circle together at my retreat, and my biggest complaint was that like we couldn't get on a solid beat. That's it. I know
she
that
was expecting all of us to be
well-trained. I know that not everyone is a musician. I understand that, but like sometimes you just need one person to take the bass and just give the foundation.
Yes. So
we went to this drum circle, and I was super stoked to get in on it. They had like 20 drums. Like there was plenty of drums, lots of people, lots of interactions. They had shakers. And there was clearly one man who was like in charge, and he was like the star of the show doing his cool rhythms and everything. And everyone else was trying to do what that main guy was doing. So when I got a drum, I sat down and all I was trying to do was find the rhythm. And I was having such a hard time finding the rhythm because everyone was trying to be the star of the show, is how it felt to me. So I got really frustrated and I said, fuck this. And I stood up and I found a shaker. And all I did was give like a little and I got so into that, and that's what I did for like an hour, and it felt really good. And then when we came back on Saturday, that was my thing. I just picked up the shaker and I was just going with it, and it was nice to be like that. I realized how much I like to be the background foundation, where like I'm just gonna be here doing this. You don't even see me, but like you need this, and it was just really, really nice. And on Saturday, I heard a guy say, oh, the shaker knows what they're doing, we should follow them. And I was like, ego, yes.
Did you see a shift in the beat after you added the shaker? Like,
100%.
Did people get better with finding the rhythm?
Yeah, because you just need that like background bass.
I can get that.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, but like I think you made a comment about like, oh, that's all you're doing or something. Like I don't think you like got what I was doing, and I said watch, and I stopped, and all the drums again were just like blah, 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 and there was nothing to keep it going. It was just so interesting. It like brought me back, because I played music a lot through elementary school, high school, and everything, and I was bass. I played the bass. I was like the background, and you feel like you're doing nothing, but then you take it away and the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah.
And that made a lot of sense. That like reverberated into a lot of my life. Like you feel like you're doing nothing, but you take it away and the whole thing crumbles.
Nice.
That drum circle like fed my soul.
You really like those. I've noticed that about you.
I just love music. I get so
with
music.
You and I are different in that sense. I just
You were a good observer.
Yeah, I just observe and I just enjoy. I'm not really much into doing the drumming. I did it at the retreat, but...
You were my background. Because I felt like you were just totally comfortable and like you didn't care that I was so sucked into the drums. And you were just like, all right, little Jacqui, have fun. Here I am, having a good time. You know
Pretty
what I mean?
much, yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
I'm the old lady in the back.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Have fun with the children. I didn't say there was something wrong with that. That's just where I want to be. I don't really want to do the whole drumming thing. But I can see how fun like it is for some people. And then JD with the photo, like I was going to take a photo and I'm like, dance. And then he's like, and then you were like, like, oh, it was so good. Yeah, and there was a bunch of people dancing that first night too. I feel like the first night it was more
Community.
like it was bigger than the second night.
Second night to me felt more, I'm a spiritual person. The first night was like, this is community. The second night felt more show.
Why? Or how?
Energy of people.
Because of that one girl?
2 girls.
Okay.
And then just in general. The first night felt more relaxed because it was like none of us knew what was going on and we were all coming together.
Yeah.
And then the second night we had like extra people, but also the first people, and I feel like it was just a little clashy. Nothing wrong with it. Interesting. Drum circle second night was like on because the shaker came in right away from the start. No, I don't know. But let's keep talking about Friday night. After the drum circle, they cut us off for the noise ordinance at like 11:15.
Yeah.
I was already 3 hours past my bedtime.
Yeah, but Jacqui was lit. I was already like, I'm done, kind of like going with the flow. Like, people are still awake. We're still doing it. All right. Jacqui's like, what's next? What's next? Where are we going? What are we doing?
So then a lady brought out her hand pan.
Yes, that was cool. Very magical. Very whisk you off to bed kind of sound.
If you don't know what a hand pan is, it looks like a steel drum, but it's like the turtle shell.
Looks like a UFO ship.
Yeah, and it has little divots for different notes.
Dimples all over the place.
Yeah.
And then you kind of like hit in between. She said like you can hit anywhere, but the best sound came from hitting like right above one of the dimples. That's what I understood.
So she had 2 that were tuned to the same. And so she was playing one, like doing her thing, and then she started passing around the second one. And it was interesting just to watch. The first person was so like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. And then like the next person was a little bit more comfortable, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. And I feel like we like learned from each other as we passed it around.
Yeah, I agree. But I gotta say, like, by the time it got to me, I was like the last one.
I think we were all done by that point. Sorry, that's not what you were gonna say.
I thought that I was gonna be very good at it, and while I understood the mechanics of how to make it sound right, there's a whole nother aspect of creating a beat and a rhythm in a song, right? Like, you can hit whatever you want to hit and sound will come out, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be like a beautiful sound.
I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
She was like creating melody.
Yeah.
Like, she knew kind of like where to hit to get what notes to create a certain melody.
With what beat and yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I understand like the mechanics of how this works and I can create sound, but it doesn't like sound like she sounded. Like, it wasn't like enchanting and like magical. Like, it was, you know, so there is...
Yeah, it was also the first time you ever used one.
No, I know. But when you look at it and you think like, oh, I could do that. Like, if I just know how to do it, I could do it. But there is something to like figuring out how to create the sound you want to create, not just hitting the pan. You know, and that's why like she's been doing it for a year and like finally she's there. So that kind of made sense to me. I just thought it was interesting. I was like, oh, I could do what she did. She was just like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, you know, and then I did 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it was like, it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Interesting.
But that was cool. And the bonfire was nice, sitting around the bonfire.
We did the hand pan around a bonfire. But there was like 10 people there, like not very big. Pretty intimate.
Yeah. I liked that first night. That was a good group. I feel like everyone was just open to whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we camped, and preparing for this festival, it was predicted to be like 90 degrees every day. So we were like, oh, it's going to be super hot. We forgot that it drops down to 60 overnight, and 60 degrees is cold AF.
Yeah, it was cold. I even like swapped out the blanket I was going to bring.
Ugh.
Thinking like, polyester's going to be so hot. I'm going to be dying. So I brought like just a cotton thinner blanket.
We didn't tell the story about the air mattress. I like this story. The first night when we blew it up.
Yeah. Which one?
So we got to the festival on Friday, and we had the option as vendors to pay for power. So like I had paid ahead to have power at our booth. And so I was like, oh, we're going to sleep on an air mattress that just plugs into the wall. Like, oh, we'll just go plug it into the power that I paid for and blow it up. And so we got the mat. And this was like, it was a 10-minute walk. So what, like a 3-minute drive from the campsite to the vendor booth. So we put it in my truck and we drove it over. And we were like plugging it into all the outlets in the vendor village, and nothing was working. And then we were like, what the fuck? And then we walked up to the volunteer who was like the traffic person, and we asked her if someone could turn the power on, and she called over the main guy who runs the whole thing. We also forgot to mention who you met when we first came in, which was magical.
yeah.
But let me finish this.
Yeah.
So she was like, oh, Jay, come to the front. And I was like, this is my time. I get to meet the person in charge of all this. And it was just funny that he had to come turn on the power a day early because of the air mattress. So we got to blow up the air mattress. But for a second, it was like, are we going to sleep on hard ground for 2 nights?
You guys are all going to realize very quickly that we met a lot of J names throughout the weekend. Everyone is going to be J, but they're different J's.
Weekend?
So we're going to figure out how to... We'll give you little adjectives to describe the J's. Yeah, that was nice. And he was very friendly and he was just a positive little sunshine all weekend, even though he was like busy,
Stressed and
as
going around.
obstacles. Yeah.
Yeah, great leader energy, I felt.
Mm-hmm.
But when we first pulled in...
Yeah, the lady we had met the lady who had told me about this festival. Like, she was like one of the first people that we ended up seeing, which was cool. So we actually got to like introduce ourselves in person, whereas prior to that it was all virtual and through like Messenger on Meetup. So that was nice.
I thought it was nice that we both met like people right away that we connected with beforehand.
Yeah, I agree.
It was a very like welcoming energy.
Mm-hmm.
So Friday night, we froze our asses off. I think I got a total of 2 hours of actual sleep that night.
Mm-hmm.
I woke up at 2 a.m. to go to the bathroom, and I met a girl who had just like parked her car in the parking space, and she was like trying to ask me like specifics about where she's supposed to park, what she's supposed to do. I was like, I don't know. I'm about to pee my pants. Do whatever you want. It was just so interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we kept like rolling into the middle of the bed. For some reason, I don't know why this is, but this has happened every time with camping. Like, you think that you want to place your bed sideways, right? Like, here's the door to the tent, and you want to place your bed this way. You don't. Like, it sucks. You end up rolling into the middle I don't know why, but this always happens. And then if you shift the bed and put your feet towards the door, you just feel more like hugged by the tent, or like secure. I don't know how to explain it, but like you sleep better.
Because you're not avoiding the
way
door.
better the second night.
Well,
even though we had like a deflated mattress and the storm outside, and it was, you know what I mean? Like, there was so many factors that should have been like a way worse night of sleep.
Sure.
We also weren't like hitting each other in the middle of the bed. You know what I mean? Like, we both stayed on our own sides.
No. When I woke up on Sunday morning, you were right here, and it was so cute. Your head was like in my armpit.
Well, that's fine. I'm talking about like in the middle, like back to back. Yeah. Like, the first night you kept like going towards the center, and I kept going towards the center, and then we would like have to move, and that kept waking us up. Like, every few hours would be like, move back to the edge of the bed, you know? So
So then we woke up on Saturday morning, 5:15, I think. And we
went and got Dunkin', like proper fucking girls.
We tried to look for a non-Dunkin'.
But nothing open
was
at 5.
Yeah.
Mom and pop shop-wise.
And then, yeah, we just got right to... Well, actually, you gave me my privacy that I asked for, so I could journal in the morning and write all about Friday's festivities, which was great. And then we just got to work Saturday.
You're, like, so... I don't even know how to explain it, but, like...
Tell me.
With the whole, like... I think your partner doesn't give you free time or alone time or whatever it is. Someone doesn't give you alone time, so when you have to, like, ask for alone time, it's like... I need it. Please give it to me. And I'm like, okay, like, I'm not gonna bother you. Like, what the fuck? I'm just gonna go. I got things to do, too. I don't need to be with you all the time. But for you, it was, like, such a thing. I was like, okay, like, it's not a big deal.
Okay, yes, I do have a husband who's always in my face all the time, like a child. But it was something that I needed at the retreat that I didn't set a strong enough boundary for myself at the retreat.
At the retreat, yeah.
And that was a whole thing.
Yeah.
For me.
But at the retreat, there was multiple women.
I know.
Yeah. So that's kind of part of it, too.
And same, like, if I wouldn't have made a big deal about it, then, like, JD would have talked to me. You got, like, it was just me setting a boundary.
Yeah. I guess, like, for me, I was just responding to it from my perspective, and I was like, it's not that, like, just go, you know, just go, I'm gonna leave you alone. You do 2 hours, 3 hours, like, you do your thing. Because I understand it. I'm a similar way, you know, like, I need to disconnect.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to journal, but to just disconnect,
you.
to just, like, be in my own little bubble for a while. You know, and I did that too, like, in certain moments. I would just walk away and, like, do my own little thing.
Yeah. I'm also a manifestor with the human design, so I'm supposed to inform, so I was just informing.
Oh, gross. Don't do that voice. That's
Why not?
horrible.
Just
Oh, God. Who does that remind me of? Oh, that reminds me of M.
Oh, M.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So then we went and we started setting up Saturday morning for the first time.
Oh, at the vendor village.
Yes.
Expo. Yes. We started setting up the vendor booth. And we realized on Friday that our section seemed smaller.
Gosh, way smaller. I know that I'm not the best at, like, spatially things.
No, but it was smaller.
It was not 8 by 10.
Yeah, it was smaller.
It was like 6 by 6. And it was drawn out with chalk on the floor, so...
But then we, like, set everything up. And it looked really nice.
One of the first ones there, so we got to, like, claim our space.
And then our neighbors came and set up their table right next to ours. And we were like...
Understandably so.
Yeah, and they were selling crystals. So they had a whole table of free crystals. Free meaning they're not attached to the table.
Like, just things hanging out.
Like, just sitting on the table. Like, thousands. And then we came and we were like, this isn't going to work. Because we need, like, a path. Move.
I was doing astrology readings in the back of our booth, so people had to, like, walk in and out of our space constantly.
So we had to, like, make friends with our neighbors while also being like, hey, yo, you need to move your table. Mm-hmm. So, like, it could have been a whole thing, but it wasn't. Mm-hmm. Like, we all found common ground, got along, became really good friends. Even though I could have started with, like, you know.
Right. Yeah. Because we all understood that, like, nothing is how it's supposed to be. We all need to, like, figure it out. And then it kind of worked out because whoever was supposed to be on the end of our row didn't show up until, like, an hour into the festival.
And they were just doing, like, EMF stuff, so they had very minimal stuff. They didn't have, like, a whole display that they were setting up, which helped a lot, I think, as
What's
well.
What's EMF?
Electromagnetic frequency. It was, like, testing the EMF from your house, from, like, your phone and your Wi-Fi and, like, things like that. Yeah.
I don't think I ever actually looked at her booth.
Yeah, that's what she was talking about. She had, like, 2 of the sensors with her, and she was talking about what it was and how, you know, it works and all that.
How many booths would you guess were in that vendor village? 50?
I think it was 72.
Oh.
I think that a few maybe didn't show up, so maybe it was, like, 69 or something, but I think there was supposed to be 72.
Interesting.
So there was some outside. too.
Oh, that's right.
The relaxation station, and then, yeah.
What else happened on Saturday? So we set up our tables, like, strangely, and, like, Saturday, I think I felt like the background, and, like, how Sunday it started out, you felt like the background, so that's just interesting that we both kind of, like...
It wasn't that I felt like the background, it was that I didn't have a place. Like, I was stuck in a corner between your back and the corner of our table.
Yeah. We'll talk about that when we talk about Sunday.
It was like, why am I here? Like, let me just go and you can do your thing, you know? It was just stupid. So
Saturday highlights. So I was offering donation-based astrology readings for the first time ever. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I learned a lot, and I was given lots of feedback from you, not from the stone. I gave too much of my energy on Saturday, and it showed. And that's it.
Yeah.
I had to like, swing it back to the center, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like Saturday was like a learning experience for you, and then Sunday you were like going. For me, Saturday was better than Sunday, but that's also because I think way more new people came on Saturday, and then there was a storm, and then there was wind, and there was way less people on Sunday, and everything was blowing around and falling, and it was just like a different vibe.
Tell our viewers what you were doing at the festival.
So I was selling various things that I've made, handmade goods, wire wrap trees, jewelry. I had art prints with me. Pretty much just debuting like the new brand Art Wizard that I'm going to be releasing a website for.
When's that website coming out, Vicky?
Jesus Christ. Look at her. What is she doing?
I'm promoting you.
The website comes out July 7th.
777? I'm excited. It is 777. Because 2023 is a 7.
I knew the 7-7. I didn't realize the year was 7-2.
7.
But yeah, it was, yeah. I've been doing art things forever, and I've done it in various ways and had different names throughout my time doing art stuff, but now I'm officially just like going under my own name. And the Art Wizard thing was something that I randomly picked on LinkedIn years ago, and it stuck. So I'm just embracing it at this point.
I like it. It fits you.
Yeah. That's what people keep saying, so seems like it's going well. But I think like the highlight of Saturday for me was just to see how many people came to support us doing this.
Yeah.
Like, people that we had mentioned this thing to, that, like, went out of their way to drive to Geneva to, like, come see what it was all about and everything. I was, like, handing out free coloring books. That was cool for me to see, like, all the kids, like, oh, really? Like, I could... So I really hope to see some of their drawings or whatever come out of that. But, yeah. And just, like, meeting people at the show and our neighbors and like talking to them. Also the tacos, those were really good.
What were they? Korean
barbecue tacos. Yeah, steak tacos. They were very good. I forget what the name of the place was, the food truck, but they were very good. I was also cracked out on like 3 cups of coffee, and that was starting to really get to me. Like let this be your sign that you don't need that second or third cup of coffee.
I was just going to go get some more. I'm almost empty.
Or you're like her.
Give it to me.
Who can drink like 7 and she's fine. I can't do that anymore. Like, I always want it and then I drink it and I'm like,
this was a mistake.
Oh. Yeah, so that was part of my Saturday as well.
Yeah, Saturday I definitely overextended myself, but like I was doing it because I loved what I was doing, you know, and I would go into like extreme detail of people's charts, and then it was also like 90 degrees, And then when we closed up shop and went back to the tent on Saturday, I remember I was just hot as shit, hungry as shit. And I rolled out that beach mat and I sat myself down on the grass and I was like, sandwich, just as fast as I could.
Yeah.
We needed I think we took a 30-minute just before we started doing friends again.
Yes. Then we made friends with our neighbor. We're going to call him D.
D.
D was cool. He was like,
What's your name? D.
On everything, which was funny. But then, he called me the aggressive friend, which I thought was funny, because I, just... When he came to our booth earlier in the day, I kind of told him that Jacqui was doing astrology readings, and I asked him what his birthday was and what his sign was, and he told me, and I remembered, because I remember things. And he didn't expect me to remember these things. So when I recalled them later, he was like, how do you know that? And I'm like, you literally told me an hour ago. So, but he was funny. But then he got very into us, me specifically.
Yeah.
Which just kind of threw me off. Didn't expect it.
It wasn't as close of a connection to me, but I was happy to bring someone in. I could tell that he wasn't comfortable because he was there by himself. From after our conversations, I don't feel like any of his friends are into this stuff. And I was wondering if he's into this stuff or if he was just kind of let's try it out.
I think it's the latter.
Regardless, he immersed himself in this type of community, and I'm happy to have been I'll accept you.
100%.
You're kind of different, but so are we. So
yeah.
Come be different.
Totally.
But you guys did have a very intense, eye-locking conversation on accident.
Yeah. I think what threw me, too, was, he that initial time, he approached me with a lot of, interest, specifically towards me, beyond just friendship. It seemed to me that's the vibe I was getting. I like you, and he kept saying I love you, right, over and over. And that's a Taurus thing. If you haven't met Tauruses, they just say I love you all the time.
I love you, and I love you.
Get away from me.
I love you.
It's a thing, though. They say it all the time, and I'm I just met you. Chill. But yeah, so there was a lot of that, and I just felt more than friends vibes from him.
See that, yeah.
And me having a partner, I was I need to put some boundaries here.
Of course.
And then he came and sat directly facing me, right in front of me, sat his little chair right in front of me, and started telling me his
trauma
life story. And it was just a lot. And then they left. And it was just me and him getting both in verbal and energy. And I was I need to step away. This is a little overwhelming right now. But even with that, I still like him. And I still want to be friends with him. And we've been friends since then. But it was just that's just what happened, I guess, that night. It went from hello, new person, let's be friends, to holy shit, step back a little bit and then find a good middle ground.
I feel this, at least since I've known you, I feel this has come around a few times where you meet a new person and it's just hey. So what have you learned from those types of situations? Did you learn anything from that happening? Do you feel that was a lesson in any way? I'm just curious.
No, I'm realizing that I'm very good at shifting things off when I need to.
Cool.
So I don't have reservations with oh, I don't want to upset this person. You're making me uncomfortable. I'm going to tell you you're making me uncomfortable, and we need to adjust this.
You did. And you did that this weekend, and I remember D was very I'm sorry, are we still friends? Did I offend you? Blah, blah, blah. And he was trying to make it okay, and I stepped in the middle, and I was I think someone was just uncomfortable. They talked about it. That's it.
Yeah.
And now we move on, and it's good.
Yeah. I am very good at swerving, and I've learned that throughout my life.
Yeah. You did that to me. One of the first times we hung out, and for a second I was like, whoa, but that was because no one's ever done that. And then I realized, like, oh, she just said what she was feeling, and it doesn't need to be taken personally. And then we moved on. Because there was no, like, gossip or, yeah.
But I will 100% still keep that channel open for people.
Yes.
Like, yes, I can 100% handle what you tell me. It wasn't so much about what he was saying as it was, like, the direction of energy right at my face.
Yeah.
Like, I literally felt, like, the vroom, vroom, and I was like, I need to move out of this channel that you've opened up. Like, that was the whole thing. That's why I was like, you need to move your chair.
Yeah.
And direct whatever this is that way.
It was, like, you guys were, like, this far apart.
Yeah, it wasn't about, like, what he was saying or that it was, like, it was kind of problematic to hear, but, like, that's fine. I've heard worse.
Right.
But it was just that, like, even if he had been sitting, like, slightly directioned away from me, I would have been fine. But, like, don't do that to me.
Interesting.
Yeah. I just feel it way too much. Like, I was getting, like, Jeffrey Dahmer vibes, and I was like, I need to move. Something's off here, you know? So.
And then I brought the Frisbee out.
No, that was before.
Oh.
The Frisbee happened before. And then you guys left, and this all happened, and then we came back, and then we went and walked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We met Garrett, though. Oops.
G money.
Doesn't matter. There's nothing with Garrett. G.
He does Viking reenactments.
It was just so innocent because I was tossing the Frisbee with D, and this man just rides up on his bicycle, and he's like, can I play with you guys? Fuck yeah! And it was so nice. And this man ended up, like, living on the property where this festival was, which was a very intriguing story in itself. And I just felt such, like, a youthful energy from him, even though he was probably older than us. It was hard to tell.
Yeah.
He was really good at Frisbee.
Yeah.
Like, very good with the tricks and the cool catches and the pop-ups. And yeah. Then Saturday night, they did a lot of lullaby music on Saturday night, and we purposefully sat by the camp.
Yes.
To wait out the sleepy time jam band.
Yes. Sounds of water.
And that's when we did the walk. We walked. And, because that's when JD and...
J.
But there's another J. We've already talked about
JK.
The leader J, JK. JD and JK, who we've known were going to be very good friends since the moment we met both.
We've been hyping the other up for so long. Like, we're like, you need to meet him. You need to meet him. You guys are going to get along so well. You have so many things in common. And they finally, and then like, earlier in the day, we're
finally. Like, we just met JD, like, a month and a half ago.
Yeah, whatever.
Finally met.
Earlier in the day, we were like, what if it's the same person? They never exist in the same moment at the same time.
Like, 3 times they, like, swapped.
Like, JK was there earlier during the day, and then he left. Or no, JD left.
That's right.
And then JK
came.
I think he left and came back too. And then they shifted. Like, one left and the other came back, and then we were like, you guys need to, like, be in the same space at the same time. But pretty much they got along like bread and butter. Like, they were just like,
instantly.
Yeah.
Hey, our lives are the exact same. We've been on the same path. We've been through the same stuff. Yeah.
Which kind of also solidified, like, at least in my head, like, the impact of this group that I created when I was lonely and wanted a community and new friends, and now this group is connecting other people with, like, soul connections that they're benefiting from, which is very cool to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like, it was never... For a period of time, I didn't know if it was gonna ever be anything, right? Like, I made this group, and it was alive for a year, and not much had gone on. Like, we went on hikes, and, like, we met people. Like, you and I met pretty early on, which is funny, too, because...
I think I joined the group the day you made it, if not the day after.
Yeah.
I think.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
But you were one of the first people that I met, and funny enough, you and I just, like, clicked, which, again, like... Why didn't I meet, like, 3 other people prior and be like, no.
Oh, interesting.
And then be like, okay, this girl. It was, like, the first, like...
Yeah.
Prior to you and Patty and that one hike, it was like that one guy, that one older dude.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like I don't know. It's just funny how that works. So now this group is like getting so big that people are meeting other people, like S and MK coming together on Saturday or Sunday or whenever they came. Saturday, I think.
Yeah.
You got me?
Yeah.
Like, they are now friends enough to be like, hey, do you want to drive me to this thing? Let's go together.
Right.
And that was because of this group, too.
Yes.
It's just cool. I don't know.
Yes. I love it. And that just goes to show anyone who's listening, because this is my role in the world, is to tell people that you're all awesome. Like, you just had an idea. You said, I want community. So instead of saying, I don't have community, I don't have friends, I can't do this, you said, I'm going to do something. And you created something, and then you paused, and you just let it unfold. And now look at what's happening. And anyone can do whatever you want. Just take a first step and have some patience.
Seriously, though.
Mm-hmm.
If you create it, people will come.
So now JD and JK are BFFs. We took a walk around the whole property.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and that was cool. We walked through the portal, or I walked through the portal earlier. That was Friday.
Yeah.
I entered the portal. And then we went and we watched the fire dancers. But before,
yeah, they were cool.
Before the fire dancers, all of us were sitting there like waiting, and then D was like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
And then he left.
And at that point we knew something had shifted.
That also, like,
Energy had shifted.
We had a conversation after the fact. And then finding out that he was going to Pride was a revelation. Based on, like, the earlier energy, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
What? You know? Because it was, like, so strong earlier.
Yeah.
I was like, what? So I'm still like, what? Like, I think there's something unexplained there. Like, either it's, I don't know. This is very confusing to me. He ended up having a boyfriend. And I was like, what was that earlier?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So then he went and meandered off and did his own thing. Went to the bathroom, came back 3 hours later, whatever. 2 hours
But at that
later.
point, like, we had taken him under our wing.
Yeah.
And that felt nice, too.
He was, like, part of the group at that point.
And we were just making sure that he was okay.
We kept, like, looking for him. I don't know what it is, but some people just, like...
It felt like little brother to me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm responsible for you now. Like, just don't do anything bad.
It wasn't that I thought he was going to do something bad. I just, like, wanted him to be around us. Like, I just wanted him to be part of the group. But he kept, like... He was doing, like, the music festival thing. He was, like...
Yeah.
Getting lost. Like, he wanted to get lost, right? Like, that's what you do at a music festival. And we were just kind of, like, all found and happy to be found.
Oh, my gosh. And then I remember coming back after trying to find him, and he was talking to Richard. Richard doesn't matter. Right in front of us. And then remember he was like, oh, can I call you Dick? And you were like, did he just ask if the guy wants to see his dick?
Yes. I was very confused.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And
I was
then,
like, what? What was that?
And then they had fire dancers. And I remember reminding D to pay attention to the fire dancers because that was cool. And he was like, okay. And he watched it. And JD and JK were like at each other. And you were like,
I was like, hey, don't you see what's going on? And he's like, so? It's
but
like,
these
not a
fire,
care.
it was like cool as shit, these fire dancers. So
yeah, they did a good job.
Their conversation must have been top notch.
Yeah, for them. They were looking for each other. That was nice.
And then drum circle number 2.
Well, then those two girls had their dance.
Oh,
the
right.
one lady who made the thing.
That's our AwareWolf up there. Oh, and they're done.
So one of the ladies who put the show on, who invited us, had like a choreographed dance with another lady, another friend.
Expecting friend.
Yeah, who was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
But it was cool. They had a really nice song to the back of it. That was probably my favorite song of the weekend, just because it had like a bass in the back, and I was like, I'm missing this like EDM kind of vibe to everything, like the tribal with the EDM. And then the drum circle, and that's where Jacqui was like upset with people
No. Yes. No. So.
Yes.
Wow.
No. Yes.
How
so.
much? I don't want to put too much detail because that doesn't. I don't want to like put a lot of energy into this. But before Saturday's activities, I saw a person who's in the spiritual community who I was close with, who had recently chosen to detach from me for their own personal reasons. It hurt my feelings. And they were there. And we made eye contact, but at the same time, Viky called my name. So it was just an awkward, like, we made eye contact, but I was already turning around and I didn't want to address it. So it was like a weird energy, open, but not.
I called your name?
At the exact moment that we locked eyes. Yeah, and then so it was like eye contact, but I'm turning.
Oh.
Did you see them?
No.
Oh, cool. Anyway. So then we went to the drum circle, and like I was in my groove, and I had my shaker, and I was just, yeah, okay, all right. And then like if you play music, you know that you just kind of like scan the room to like watch everyone and connect with everyone. And I was scanning, and then at one point I scanned over, and this person had just approached me. And it seemed like a peace offering, but I was like so in my jam. So I just smiled at them and I kept going. And then they distanced themselves, which was fine. It was unexpected that I would be approached. And I think that threw me off because to me, it felt like a big deal. Like, we have to separate and then we haven't talked and now we're at a spiritual fest. Are we friends now? And I was like, no. Like, this is not time and place. But whatever. And I let that go. And that was fun. But then I don't want to tell that other story. It doesn't matter. You're going to make me tell the other story? It was just the outfit. This is also why Saturday night felt like a performance type of concert. I'm going to go and like dress skimpy to be at a spiritual fest. I think it triggered some of my past, because like I used to be like that. I used to go to things and be like, look, I have a body, my body, and it just made me upset that like other people are still doing that, and I felt like it was like tainting the festival in a way, but it's not, because nothing is good or bad until you say it is. But like in my eye view, there was a girl dressed very music festival-esque, like I was embarrassed for how high the leg went on the skirt. And she was pretending to play the drum while her boyfriend was live streaming her. And it was just like, you're making a mockery of something so sacred. That was upsetting me. And that whole thing happened, and I was trying not to give my energy to it, and I was trying to keep shifting back to like drum circle vibes, but it was just interesting to notice how I kept going back and forth, and yeah. Please say something.
I wonder who invited her. I wonder what
drew her to
what
it.
Opened the door for her to be like, I'm gonna go to that, but just Saturday to live stream it or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
I wonder how there was definitely like a broad spectrum of people, I'd say. It wasn't everyone that you would think, right? Like Awake Oneness Festival, spiritual festival. You would think like it would weed out, I don't know, I guess not. Maybe
Club
not.
kids.
Maybe not. But there was definitely like a spectrum. Like some people were just there to make money. Some people were there on a whim to explore, like, what is this? Some people were like spiritual as shit, like been doing this for, decades. And you can, I don't know, you can kind of pick it up. You can kind of not pick it up. Like it shows itself randomly, like where people are on their journey. And there's no like good or bad, right? Like everybody's in their own spot, but it's just interesting to see like
I think that's
characteristics
that
you can pinpoint.
I was checking myself because yes, I have been in a place like that in the past, but like I needed to dip my toe into this world at
100%.
That place to get where I am now. So that was another like thing that was trying to happen in my brain.
Yeah, I wonder what her story was. We also like, you have this conception of people prior to meeting them just on their physical appearance, and you think like, oh, this guy's weird, or like this girl doesn't know what she's doing. You know what I mean? And then you meet them and you talk to them and you're like, oh, oh, like, that's not what I thought at all, you know?
Yeah.
So you never know. We kind of had one of those. He was our other neighbor.
Hold on, I want to finish Saturday night.
We met him.
We didn't meet him.
Saturday.
We met him Saturday? Oh, we did meet him Saturday. When we were, like, Frisbee time. Right? Is that when we first...
Yeah. Well, he walked past a few times. He would walk past and he would speak. And I'd be like, oh.
Huh?
So nice. Scottish accent. Nice.
When he first pulled up to the camp, though, so he was older, white hair, mustache, long hair, you know, and when he first pulled up, I think it was Saturday morning, he set up camp. I was just being myself, and I waved, and he waved, and then I could see, like, the wheels turning, and then he pulled to camp right behind us, and I got real creeped out. Like, old man, young girls, ugh. And I said something about it, and you were like, well, let's see. And then, like, you kept, like, hello, man. Hello, who are you? Hello. And then eventually he turned out to be a really cool guy.
I'm trying to think, like, when we spoke to him for the first time. I think, like, as he was walking past at one point, I said something to him. But then I remember, like, he came by when we were listening to music Saturday night. And I was like, I could just listen to your voice forever. And he was like, oh, well, I like to talk or something like that.
And we found that out.
Yeah, he does like to talk. But a very nice man. But yeah, well, that's just kind of what I'm saying. Like, you have a certain opinion of someone not having spoken to them, and then it could completely change. Like, you and that girl could be friends.
Right.
You know?
Yes. Which, yeah. And I'm glad I was open-minded during the time of me having these emotional reactions to what was happening. And then the bonfire on Saturday night.
Yeah, I was done. I was out of it.
I was also done that night. I was exhausted.
I went to the bathroom. I was like, I'm going to bed.
We walked up to the bonfire, and this person with the peace offering thing was there. We didn't make eye contact. It wasn't weird. But then this guy, when we walked up to the bonfire, same, there was maybe like 8 people there that night. And this man, as soon as we sat down, he was like, we've had some feedback that there isn't enough storytelling at this event, so here I am to tell some stories. And I don't know what the fuck he was talking about.
And I've had 5 cups of coffee, so let me tell you guys, like, fragments of 15 different stories, all intertwined.
Talking about,
you guys know Macbeth?
Yeah,
Do you know Shakespeare? Do you know this fucking guy you've no one ever heard of? You know his story? You don't know his story? How do you not know? Okay, I'll tell it to you. Like, what the Jesus?
Very animated. And at one point, I told him, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but you're so passionate, so I'll just listen. Like, I had no idea where he was. And that, I think that wore us out, and we went to bed very quickly after that. Oh, that's because it started raining.
We went to bed, but we didn't sleep quickly.
We went to tent.
We went to tent, yes. And then the storm started, and we, like, washed our faces and all that and got back to the tent. And then bougie Jacqui over here.
Okay, hold on. Don't yet. Before we even knew it was going to rain, we had asked JD if he had a power outlet in his SUV, and he said yes. And I said, cool, can we blow up our air mattress before we go to sleep on Saturday because it was deflated Friday night? And he said yes. And so it was drizzling, and I was like, oh, might as well do this real quick.
But JD's already in bed, like with the camp tent closed, the lights off, like he's gone.
It had been 2 minutes. It had been literally maybe 3 minutes. So I casually just said, hey, JD, and he was fully awake. Yeah, what's up? He wasn't sleeping. He could have said no, okay? I asked for help. He could have said no. He got out of his tent, pulled his SUV in front of our tent, and then is when I realized that this is a new car for him, and he did not know where the outlet was in the car. So he was walking back and forth on the outside of his car trying to find the outlet as the rain is continuing to pour harder and harder and harder. It was really only like a 1.5 minute thing, and eventually I was like, just leave your car and go to bed. This is not happening. Go to bed. And Viky thought it was a big deal. And I don't think it was a big deal.
I thought it was hilarious. I am very low maintenance. Like, I will sleep on the floor. If the mattress deflates, cool. Let's wing it. Sleep on the floor.
I just wanted to have a good night of sleep.
This is the difference with you and I.
But we ended up not inflating the mattress at all, and we slept great.
Right. Exactly.
It wasn't a big deal to try, so we tried, and it didn't work.
I just thought it was
so
hilarious that, like, the rain's, like, pouring. Like, it started pouring as soon as this is happening. And poor JD, like, doesn't have any cover. He's just, like, getting wet under this rain. Like, I'm not sure where this thing is, but he's, like, trying his best. And you're just like, where's the plug? I need the plug.
No, I wasn't. I was not like that. I was very understanding. It was great.
Oh, it was a good moment. And then we sat in the tent, and Jacqui read memes. Not memes, or whatever you were reading. Farm jokes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Backwoods Home Magazine. Plug. Not sponsored. Backwoods Home Magazine. I get them. It's all about, like, self-reliant stuff, but they have a really cool email list, and every once in a while they have, like, a theme, and they'll throw out, like, 15 dad jokes, and they're just fun. So that's how I put myself to sleep. I was reading irrelevant farm jokes. Irreverent. I don't know what that word means, but that's what they're called. Irreverent jokes.
I slept very good that night with, like, the storm sounds.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little bit warmer, too.
Yeah.
We weren't getting wet, which was nice. I guess Scottish Man was getting wet.
Oh, was he?
He was getting, like, drips on his head, so we had to readjust his sleeping to not get dripped on.
Saturday night, before it rained, we also had Dee's belongings, and we knew that the rain was coming, so we went to Dee's tent. We had, like, his phone and his shirt and his chair. So we went to his tent and put the cover on for him, and I had his phone, so I unzipped it, and I was like, oh, there's an empty mattress, or an empty sleeping bag, so I threw the phone on it, and then as it landed, I was like, oh shit, that's a face, and he was just sleeping very corpse-like.
It was nice of you guys to do that, though.
Oh, yeah.
His
It's a
tent
quick
was, like, all open. He would have gotten soaked.
I wonder if it would have woken him up or if he was done.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, so then we woke up Sunday morning, and I was nervous Sunday morning because I had a workshop to teach. So I was already, like, because I like making my notes just to keep myself streamlined. So I had typed up my notes, and I just needed to, like, redo them on paper just to, like, refresh my brain that morning. So I knew we needed to, like, reset up our booth. So I was just like, I don't want to stop to think. Like, let's just go. So I went myself to get coffee on Sunday. And at that time, that's when you got all prettied, right? Yeah, you took that time to, like, do makeup. And then I came back, and I journaled, and I made my notes, and you were like, I'm going to give her ultra alone time.
Yeah, and me and JD left. Because I needed to get a memory card.
And it was great, though. And I was, like, just going, and I got everything to the thing, to the vendor booth, and it was, like, seamless, it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
Did we get set up before we washed our hair? Because I like this story. Or did we wash our hair before? I think we washed our hair before we got set up, because my hair was wet when I was journaling. So it was early Sunday morning. My biggest thing with this whole camping event was, like, well, I don't want my hair to be dirty. That was the first thing that came up in March, whatever. So I brought shampoo, and I made sure that we had a hose, and so we went to find the hose, and we were getting ready to wash our hair, and Scottish Jay drove past in his truck, and he was, like, trying to call over to us, but, like, the hose was running, and he was far away, and all this stuff, and I don't remember what happened, and I was like, do you want to wash your hair? And he, like, thought about it for a second, and then he drove right up to us. So Vicky had already washed her hair, and then he hopped out of his truck, and he took his hat off, and he grabbed the hose, and we washed our hair together, and it felt just so, like, bonding. In a weird... Do you feel it, too, or am I being very sentimental? It just was so sweet to wash your hair together. Please say something.
It was cute.
So we washed our hair, and then we got ready on Sunday morning, and as we were setting up our tent, or our booth...
He was also giving, like, retriever energy with the hair washing. Like, he would, like, flip it around.
Oh,
Like, he was like a dog.
Yeah.
Which was cute.
I forgot about that. Yeah, when he was all done, he shook off. And then he just put his hat on.
Yeah.
I felt bad we didn't have an extra towel for him.
I didn't. He's a dude.
I know. We
That's
didn't
all he wants to
know
do
that
anyways.
he wanted. Anyway.
What is he gonna walk around with the turban?
He did have some pretty long hair.
Yeah.
So we were setting up our booth for Sunday morning, finding a new way to set it up because of it didn't feel right on Saturday. And then Jay, the leader of the whole thing, approached our booth, and he started off with the very buttering up statement of like, oh, I heard Jacqui Mancuso does all these things and she's really good with a wide spectrum of things. So I was like, what do you want? And then he asked me to, so essentially one of the girls who was supposed to teach a Reiki thing she couldn't make it. Like, she was up all night with a sick person, so she couldn't make it. And he needed someone to fill the spot at 11 a.m. in the paid section of the festival. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I can adjust. That's cool. I'll do that. And then I realized, oh, I have an Insight Timer live stream scheduled at 11 a.m. for astrology. And this was a whole thing because, like, I felt like I love my Insight Timer people, and, like, this was something that was communicated ahead of time, and people were signed up to watch my astrology workshop, and people at the festival were signed up to watch a free astrology workshop. And then he's like, hey, we need a Reiki thing. But there was, like, no details. We didn't know if it was a Reiki workshop teaching about Reiki or if it was a Reiki transmission or what. And I went on the website to try to get details, and all it said was, like, quantum Reiki healing. I've never heard of quantum Reiki healing, but I was going to fake it till I make it, and that's fine. And I was, like, freaking out at the same time that we're setting up the booth for the day, and, like, I was so overwhelmed. I was crying. You caught me crying. But it just needed to come out. Like, it was just, like, a lot of, like, I want to be best, and then it came out. But everything worked out. I needed a moment. Like, we got set up really early, which was nice. And then that gave me some time to, like, walk. And I got my feet in the grass, and I walked over to where the workshop was going to be. And I just, like, visualized it. And then I walked, and I got myself something to eat. And I got some coffee, and I walked back. And I just knew that, like, it would be guided. Whatever was supposed to happen was going to be guided. But I needed that time away to let that sink in. If I would have continued to, like, stress out and make notes and, like, try to piece together stuff on the table, I would have lost it. And it was really nice to have that. Do you want to talk about the morning at all, or do you want me to keep talking about the workshop?
Just keep talking.
So then the vendor village opened at 10, and we had an hour before my workshop. And JD was going to watch our booth, but he thought he had to be there at 11.
Like, done with us. He's like, I'm doing my own thing today.
He fell in love that day, so I
think
can't
that happened
blame
Saturday
him.
night, actually.
Sure, so he was in love that day.
Yeah.
And, like, we were the second thought, which is fine because he wasn't with us. Like, he just happened to show up and all that stuff, but whatever. So we had someone who was going to watch the booth, and it didn't work out because of things. And then it was like, well, who's going to watch our stuff while we're changing up the whole plans? And it was just, like, so much. But we made friends with those crystal neighbor ladies. Mm-hmm. So they watched our booth until JK showed up.
Yeah.
And he watched the booth for us. Mm-hmm. So we wandered over to the tent where I was supposed to be doing Reiki whatever. And I just assumed that, like, so my intention was to deliver astrology, but blend in how you can energy heal yourself during these transits. And then it was 11 o'clock and no one was there. And we had been all set up, and I had my Insight Timer live stream, so I was like, cool. So I just hopped on Insight Timer, and I was talking to my Insight Timer people, like, we don't know what's going on, but I'm about to do this. And maybe, 5 people approached the tent total?
I think 3 or 4, yeah. But everyone was expecting Reiki healing, like, to lay down and receive Reiki, which was not what was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of confusing, the whole thing.
But it was kind of confusing for everyone the whole time. That was just, like, our...
Yeah, I'm not saying that just
Right.
our moment was confusing. But,
Right.
yeah, that's kind of how that went. Like, people came and they're like, oh, is this where there's Reiki? And they had, like, their yoga mat, and they just wanted to lay down and get Reiki, it seemed like.
And I was ready to teach and talk.
Jacqui was, like, full force on, like, a page worth of notes for her workshop.
It was a mini page. I just had some dates written down so I can remember numbers. But that was great. And then we got that recorded on your camera, and that looks lovely. now I have like a semi-professional video, not just like a sitting in front of my computer video. And that was good. And you were hurting. Your back hurt, but you were just there. You're like, I am friend. I support now. You were so done. I could tell you were so done. But I appreciate your support.
I'm trying to figure out why surrounding this whole moment, you are so focused on trying to shift onto me. I think because you feel awkward about how it all went down, you like, and now let's not talk about me anymore. Let's talk about you. Because the same thing happened then, too. Like, as we were walking away, you were like, what's wrong with you? What's happening? And I'm like, stop. Like, the fuck is wrong with you? Like, let me just walk. It's like, now the attention is, what did you say? That comment irked me. I was like, now the attention can go back onto you. And I was like, I don't need the attention on me. What the fuck?
I didn't mean it like that.
I know. But just at the time, I was like, what's your problem? You know, like, let's have it on you, you know? Like, this is your moment. Like, enjoy it. Soak it up. But you were, like, done with it. You were like, I need to shift out of that.
I wasn't happy with how it went.
Right.
It was too confusing and it was too unknown, which was fine. It's exactly what I needed. It's a lesson. You know, I got to learn how to go with the flow type of stuff.
Do you wish, like, you had just stuck with the original workshop?
Part of me, yes. Yeah.
Because I wonder who was there
at the free workshop place. Me too.
Like, while that was happening.
Me too.
Or if, like, yeah. I feel like we were just, it was weird that we had to go to, like, the furthest edge of the festival.
Yeah.
Where there was, like, no one. And then it's like, oh, but people are going to come to this, like, whole thing. But, like, it really wasn't. It was, like, hyped up to be way bigger than it was. Like, in reality. Even if they did do the original course. Mm-hmm. Like, 3 or 4 people came by to participate in that course. So, like, it was overhyped.
Mm-hmm. Who did the overhyping, though?
Jay, to us.
Did he?
I would say so. When he presented it to you, like, you should switch this to this class, he made it seem like way bigger of a thing. Like, this needs to be high level, advanced, like, people are paying for this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's how he, and so you kind of
rose to the occasion.
Yeah, and
right.
like fed off that energy, which gave you even more anxiety, because you're like, I need this to be better than I originally planned, and, like, include quantum healing. Like, what am I going to do? There's going to be a bunch of people there. And then it's like a deflated balloon. Like, what was that all for? Mm-hmm. So I understood the, like, frustration, right? It's like, why did we could have just stayed and done what we originally were going to do.
I took it as an opportunity, though. Like, it was presented to me, and I was like, yes, I am
100%. I think you did the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do have a little bit of that
opportunity.
Like, what if I would have just stuck with my original workshop? Mm-hmm. So another reason why I wanted to give that free astrology workshop early in the morning on Sunday was to draw people to our booth.
Yeah.
But that was proven to not be needed.
No.
For the rest of that day. So I guess, whatever. It happened.
Yeah. Put
Next
out
time I
the
can
other video and see what it does.
Sure.
I feel like that was like your test run of doing like a on stage kind of a presentation.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I've never really like presented.
Yeah.
Off of my computer.
And the live is like less nerve-wracking, right? You don't see all the people that are on the live.
Yeah.
How many people were there? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Oh, you didn't look?
No, the number was real small, and like I don't know. I can go back.
A bunch of people were commenting. They were all engaged and like, yeah, Jacqui. And then I did remember seeing Paul being like, good job, Pumpkin.
Okay, thank you. Because I like didn't even remember that I asked him to go.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I just didn't put the two together at the time. I was like, oh, someone called her Pumpkin. And then I was like, later, I was like, oh, right. Who calls her Pumpkin? Yeah.
So that was nice.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the morning.
And then we got back to the vendor booth and I started giving readings, and the tables were set up long ways next to each other. So we had like an aisle, and the intention was to invite people in to see all of the artwork.
Yeah, but pretty much what happened, like, the astrology table was set up at the end, and
it's
in
like a little
theory,
coffee table.
we would have one person on each side of the coffee table, but that wasn't the case. You were sitting like on the corner of the like front of the coffee table, and the people were here. So it was taking up like more area, and the two tables were like extending right to that area. So for me, I either had to be behind you doing the astrology reading, so like there's this whole thing happening and I'm behind and I'm like, you know, or I had to be in front of, which set me right in the walking area of the two tables. So for people to come in and like see my art, they would be walking into me.
Into your personal space.
Into me, like physically. And I'm just sitting there without anything like blocking my body, just like, hi. It was so awkward. Like I felt so out of place. And like you guys were like chatting up a storm, talking about like intimate details. And I'm literally like this to her, and right here I have a table. I'm like, this is not okay. And I could just see too, like people weren't walking in. They would just walk past and they'd be like, oh, astrology, and everything that was happening behind got missed. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, this is stupid. Like, why am I here? Like, if it's astrology day, cool. Like, that's fine. I will take a back seat and I'm just gonna go somewhere. Yeah. But this is awkward. For me to be here, like, stuck between this whole situation, I don't want to be here. Like, I felt like I don't want to be here. The whole day, I'm like, my back hurts. Like, that comment earlier about the whole attention thing threw me. And then I'm like, I don't want to be here. Like, if this is her day, this is her day. Like, let it be her day. I'm just going to go do my own thing. So I was like, I either need to change something or I need to leave. Because I'm about to be pissed.
And you spoke up?
And I shifted the table. Mm-hmm. And I remember you giving me a look like I could see that you were like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It worked, though.
What kind of... I was happy that you said something.
Yeah, I expanded more area. I feel like you guys had more room. I was able to sit in front, and JK was able to come and sit next to me, too. And, like, we actually had room for two chairs now, whereas before we didn't. Like, we had chairs, like, piled up on each other in that mm-hmm. back corner. I was like, this is just dumb. So, yeah, so that kind of helped. But overall, like, the whole second day, that pavilion was like a wind tunnel.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, we got the better side of it because we were towards the back of it, but the people towards the front, like, all of their stuff was flying, falling, glass shattering. Like, I felt so bad for people because they were losing product.
This was an outdoor festival, too. Like, I don't think we ever said that. The whole pavilion was an outdoor pavilion.
Yeah, it was just like a roof, like a metal roof. And they had, like, grates, like metal panels around the sides, like a fence.
Yeah, like a metal fence.
But then they had like plastic coverings to try to control the wind or block out the sun. But
those were
ripped off, getting ripped down.
People had their like 7 foot tall vinyl stand up signs.
Yeah,
because that's what you use in indoor festivals, and those were everywhere.
For what it's worth, like we had a very good setup. Other than those signs. Those signs were freaking, oh my god. We had like signs in frames and they looked really nice, but like the stands were unstable. So the whole weekend we were trying to set them up so they would stand.
It was all dollar store stuff. So.
I know. Like it would have been fine, again, if we weren't outside and there wasn't wind constantly. Yeah. But because there was, they were just blowing around, and every time they fell, they would like crack. So we were like duct taping.
Like 3 times, yeah.
Yeah, but it was fine. It definitely seemed like the second day there was more vendor people. There was less outside people coming through the festival.
Now that you mention
which was sad.
The majority of my readings, were vendors.
Yeah, vendors, yeah. That's what I was saying. Like
I didn't realize that. I was just like, oh,
you were on it.
Chart?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. No, totally. And it was good. It worked for you. You know what I mean? Like it was. But that's why I wanted to separate the two things too.
Sure.
Because I didn't want to be like
right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just strange.
I liked the way that Sunday went, and I appreciate that you gave me the feedback on Saturday night of like that I'm giving too much, essentially, is how it came out. And it was interesting that like I held information back, not to like not tell people stuff about their chart, but I just gave them like a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was much more well received than if I was like, here's everything that I know about your chart, blah, 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 blah. Because like I get comprehend. That. Yeah. And they don't have the
Yeah. It sticks much more when it's like hit.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And there were
Now I'm going to think about this for a week.
So many times on Sunday where I would say something and I'd get the, I was like, yes, thank you.
Yeah, people were like coming up looking for Jacqui, which was cool. I was like, that's her.
Mm-hmm.
Sign that. And then other people were like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. It was like a broad spectrum of people.
And then,
that's not for me. I still read the Bible. It's a sin. Astrology, you can't look at that.
That's for them.
I just thought that was interesting. It was like
I know.
whole spectrum.
It was nice to meet another astrologer. I met him on Saturday at the booth. Period. It's just nice to be able to like speak a language with someone. Like I get it now, like why people love speaking their native language, because it's just like, you get me.
Yes.
And it's like astrology is a language. Like we were naming planets and aspects and we were like on the same page.
Yes.
And it was just like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So that was cool. A lot of support. Surprise visit from my college friend who just happens to be friends with me on Snapchat, and he's like, hey, I'm in the area. What the hell is this?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a lot of like security, I'd say, throughout the thing. Like they were so gun-ho about like people paying certain things, but I feel like people just like came in.
Went wherever.
Mark ended up visiting my partner.
That was very nice.
That was very nice. He was like what I needed at the time, and I just gave him like a multi-minute hug, and I was just like,
oh,
feed me energy. No, but it was good. And then we had more tacos because again the tacos were bomb.
And kimchi.
Yes, and kimchi.
We didn't have kimchi on Saturday, right?
We did. I ate it.
Bitch. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
And then Sunday we started packing up like an hour before it was over.
Yeah, because everything was getting blown around.
Lots of people left early.
There was no people walking around, and it was like, why are we struggling through? Because the wind just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Like people outside just like called it quits in the morning, and they were like, this is it, we're done. But all it did for me was just like spark the fire of like wanting to do more shows. Because I've done like 3 in the past of my life, but they were slightly different. I feel like I was less prepared, like as a brand. Like I was creating stuff, but it was less like brand centric, which I feel like helps. Just having like a cohesive look to things helps.
We looked so good.
I think so too.
Our whole setup. And like our things blended well together too. Like our signage, because you made it all. But like everything just looked... I loved working with you.
Me too.
Like so much.
Also, F you, but also love you.
Why?
I'm just joking.
I can trigger people.
No, I think we work extremely well together. Any kind of triggering that might happen is usually from our own centers. It's not like you've never done something to me to be like, eh.
I like that you said that too, because like, yes, you've triggered me and I've triggered you, but we've never like backlash.
It hasn't been like directed at you.
But
you know
even
what I mean?
so, like when you triggered me, like I knew that it was my own, and I didn't like, well, fuck you about it. And you haven't done that to me. But I could tell that like, oh, I did something and it pushed a button, so I'm just gonna give her some space.
Yeah, exactly. But it's good. Like there's always good intentions behind everything. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think we lead with love, and that shows.
And it's growth.
Yeah. And we're just both like rooting for each other's success.
Yeah. 100.
You know, it's not like a competition.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice that we kind of figured out how to structure like your offering with my offering, to where both get noticed, both get utilized, and you don't feel like you're over giving and not receiving, and I don't feel like I'm over, you know what I mean? Like there is a balance to that. So
it's gonna get better the more we do it. Yeah.
There are a few.
My friend texted me too that I haven't even opened the text yet because I don't want to forget it. But there's a couple coming around. One in like Mundaline.
The application for that is closed. It closed on the 15th.
Oh,
but
yes.
Yeah, there are a few that I wanted to throw your way. They're not, like, spiritually centered, obviously.
Okay.
They're more just vendor shows, like craft vendor shows. Mm-hmm. And it'd be interesting, I think, to offer something like that to an unsuspecting crowd or someone that's like, you know, because like you go to a spiritual festival, you're like, there's going to be astrology there.
Yeah.
But like,
you go to an art
someone
fair.
That's not even art, but just like a vendor show, right? There's all kinds of different offerings. And like, it'd be interesting to get like someone who's not from that world to get an astrology reading. They'd be like that last girl that was like, what the, you, holy whoa.
She made me so happy. Every other thing out of my mouth. What?
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah.
So.
It was great.
Yeah, we'll see.
And then that's a wrap. It rained on Sunday coming home. That was fun. And then we got to your house to drop you off, and we were just like chatting in the car, and then we heard the poop, 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 and we both went silent and just got everything out of the truck. Well-oiled machine.
Yep.
W-O-M.
Wom. Wom, wom, wom.
So we'll go by WOM. This is the WOM podcast. AwareWolf.
I also gave cards for my meetup group to a lot of people.
Yes.
A lot of people have joined the group. Some of them are coming to future events, so that'll be interesting. We had quite a bit of people sign up for the mailing list, which I got to send you a photo of. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I feel like all in all, it was quite successful. We had a good time. Definitely, I feel like next year when they do it, it's going to be
much better.
Double what it was, if not more.
I'm happy that we were like the pioneers. Like we were at the first one. Like and that was our first show. Oh my God. If they keep doing that for like decades, that's going to have a special place in my heart.
Yeah. A lot of people too were like, I'm scoping this out before bringing my kids. Like JD was saying that.
Very kid friendly.
Very
kid friendly. Yeah.
No alcohol, no substances, no nothing. I mean, maybe some people snuck it, but it wasn't apparent.
Yeah.
It was extremely kid friendly. The music wasn't like blaring. You didn't have to wear like earplugs. It was very...
Yeah, you could really only hear it if you were in front of the stage.
Yeah.
And the stage was faced away from the campsite also, so like if you wanted to go to bed, it was
like there was babies to older kids, like everybody. So that was really nice.
No pets.
No pets. But that's probably for the best, because I think most people would have pets, and that would be a lot of pets.
Yeah.
And it would just all be about the pets at this point.
Yeah.
Like, all of us have dogs.
Yes. Do you have... Because I pulled some tarot cards about, like, what were my biggest takeaways. Do you have a biggest...
Oh, you didn't talk about your original card spread.
No, I didn't.
You should talk about that.
Okay.
Real quick. And then we can talk about your other one.
Cool.
I would love to hear about both. Well, I mean, I know about one, but I'd love to hear it again.
Sure. So... I forgot a big part of the story for me. Sunday morning, when we were walking to the bathroom, the baby Robin.
Oh, yeah.
There was, so, like, it was campground, right? So, like, cars were driving through the grass, and this baby Robin, days old, like, barely feathered, was in the driveway, pretty much. And it wasn't moving, and we were walking, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, shit. And it was just like in another dimension. Like I just fell from my what's happening?
What is this world? It was all blue and now it's green. Where am I?
So it was just it was very symbolic for me. Like I picked it up and I took it over by the tree and just like tucked it away so it was safe. Yeah, I looked up the meaning of Robin, and I forgot what it was. It was something about, like, the song. Yeah, Robin has a very distinct song, and it was all about, like, sharing your voice. But baby Robin was, like, you're just starting to share your voice. Like, keep doing it. And then the whole workshop thing happened, and that was nice. And we did check on the Robin multiple times, and it seemed to be saved by the mama. So Robin is safe. But that was a very pivotal symbol for me. Is that it?
I think so.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. This was fun to recap. I hope that this inspires you to join a festival if you've never been to one, to visit a holistic fair of some kind. It can be a very magical experience if you open yourself to magic.
Yeah, it's cool. It's different vibe than a music festival or any other kind of event that's similar. Quite different. Don't really know how to explain how, but it's more focused around like community and the people than like
Drugs.
balls to the wall, have a good time. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference there. Yeah, feed your soul, you know? It's not just about like having a good time. Like do things that are good for the soul, and they're gonna be a good time, but different.
And a message to embrace the unknown. Let things change and just go with it. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.